I bought a shelf from Amazon. We're going to unbox it. I'm going to tell you what I truly think about it, and we're going to see just how hard it is to put together. Let's get into it. Now that I've opened it all up and I've inspected everything, I can tell you right off the bat, my first instinct is the quality is much better than I expected. Kind of expected a little bit cheaper pipe, kind of expected a little bit cheaper of a finish. Definitely expected a lot more of a particle board, but I can tell you my first reaction is the only thing that about lives up to the cheapness of the expectation would be the gauge. But stay tuned, I have a plan of we're going to try to do a little bit of copper accents on not only this gauge but this faucet as well. But like I say, the wood, from my first instinct, I don't believe this is particle board. So we're going to sand these down. We'll try to give them a little bit of a stain. I was originally going to replace them with either a cedar or a black walnut, but after my first reaction of what's here in the box, I would definitely recommend this and give it a 3.5 out of 5 for quality. Now, we do have a bit of concerns on how difficult this is going to be to put together, so let's walk through the process and let's see how hard it truly is. Before I start to get it assembled, I want to make sure that I get this stuff taped off and get all these accents sprayed in this nice copper fusion from Krylon. I've actually never used it, but I'm super excited and super inspired to see what kind of finish we can get out of it. So we're going to tape everything off. We're going to try to get it outside, get it sprayed, get it drying, and hopefully in a few hours we'll be able to go ahead and start to fully assemble everything and have no hiccups. Today's artistic tip is going to be to always consider using a technique I like to call back taping. Back taping is a term I use when I tape over an area that I actually wish to paint, but because of the curve and trying to apply tape to that curve, I instead decide to tape over the entire area, use a toothpick to press down the edge, and then take a razor blade and come back and cut a perfect circle and remove the tape from the desired area I wish to paint. This allows us to have a much cleaner line and a much better product in the end. Now that everything's taped off, I attached fishing line, brought everything outside, hung it, and prepared to spray it. While the paint's drying, I quickly rough sanded these boards and applied a stain. I used 2 different stains I had on hand to create a more rustic, warmer finish, and I finished them up with a linseed oil and a quick polish. Now that everything's dry, we peeled back the tape and it's time to start the assembly. The copper pieces came out exactly as I had hoped. As we revealed the tape line, we revealed that we had a really crisp, sharp, clean line and that the artistic tip of the day was super valuable in this situation. Overall, the copper has a pinkish hue to it and really replicates a genuine copper very, very well. It allowed us to have a very professional looking finish and bump up the quality of this specific piece just that little bit to fit the rest of it. Well, my first reaction to these directions is that they fit the Amazon reviews perfectly. There's no numbers, there's no words, there's not much to guide us on how we're going to put this together other than the picture, but I'll let you know where I run into the biggest problem. So now that we've gotten into it just a little bit more, we found that the most difficult part of assembling this so far has been creating the leverage in order to get a really tight joint. You don't want to leave the loose joints when you go down the line and you try to put this up on the wall. It's just going to be a battle trying to get this stuff together. So if you have somebody with you or a little bit of teamwork, or you have a nice vise that you can put a cheater bar on and really crank that extra bit of leverage, you can certainly achieve a very level plane and a really tight joint. That way you'll have no problems down the line. But don't leave the joints loose now. Just trying to make sure you have everything straight. You want to make sure it's a tight joint and really get someone to help you crank these down. Before I went any further with this video, I went ahead and put a pause on it, went ahead and sprayed all this pipe in the gray hammered finish from Krylon. I really enjoyed the way that the copper finish came out, and I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to go ahead and spray all this pipe with the gray hammered finish, show you a bit more tips and tricks I use when applying this finish, and show you the detailed finish of just how this came out. If that's something you'd like to see, make sure you check out the video I have lined up for you after this video, and make sure you hit subscribe so you can see all the new videos I have coming out. Let's get back to the assembly. As I began final assembly on the shelf, I noticed the same issue that we had before, and I think the most common issue when assembling this shelf. The joints just aren't tight enough where you want them to be tight enough. The threads don't always match the level or the flat point of the shelf itself. We've done our best to this point to make sure all the smaller joints are nice and tight, and from here out, we're just going to have to kind of try to work with what we got. I couldn't be happier with the way that the shelf turned out. Now that everything's together, I'm able to see the stained boards and the painted pipe and everything all together, and I'm really excited about hanging this up on the wall. You can see, even though everything's together, all the boards are installed, everything's nice and tight, we still have those wobbly joints and things don't seem to lay 100% level. We're going to move forward with the hanging process. We're going to measure our space, find a center point, and then we're going to go ahead and try to get this up on the wall. Rather than fumble around and try to hang this on the wall with one hand and hope that I'm level or bang a bunch of holes in the wall, I decided that I was going to use a trick that I've seen one time where you lay a piece of tape out, you mark on that piece of tape exactly where you want your holes, and then you come back and you take that piece of tape and you line it up with the center point on the wall, and then you use that as your guide holes to punch in the 2 holes for the top bar. Unfortunately, after test fitting the first time, I decided that I needed to come down about 2 inches. This shelf fits almost perfectly into the space that I have, and once I was able to put the wood on the top of the shelf, I just realized it was too close to the ceiling and it just didn't look right and almost seemed a bit overpowering for this space. So I ended up with 2 extra holes in the wall that I'm going to need to patch after this project, but I went ahead and brought the shelf down about 2 inches and then proceeded with the process. I made sure when I attached this shelf to the wall that I didn't use the hardware that was included. They're a cheap, flimsy plastic sheetrock mount and just aren't meant to hold this kind of weight. I instead went to my local hardware store and picked up this pack of 10 100-pound sheetrock mounts. I then reassembled the shelf and placed the entire thing on the wall. I used the 2 top mounting locations to support the weight while I slowly adjusted and checked the levelness of each one of these shelves. After checking one final time that everything was level, I was able to mark the locations with the Sharpie marker where I wanted to then sink the next set of sheetrock mounts. I then once again removed the entire shelf off the wall, sunk these sheetrock mounts, and came back and reinstalled them into these locations. For the final touch on this project, I couldn't resist. I had to come back and hand paint the handle on this copper faucet. I thought the red just added that bit more realistic look to this project, and it was something I couldn't resist doing. I want to know what you think about this project. Let me know in the comments below. Is this something you would buy? Did I do too much? Should I have just left it alone? Does it seem impossible? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, I've got a video lined up next for you that's got a bit more footage of this project. And don't forget, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.